Hey, move those routers there. Oh, hey, it's me, your data center. And as you can hear, I'm making some big changes in here because AI is making some bigger ones everywhere. So I took a little trip to Nokia. Super fast routers, optical interconnect, fully automated, the whole data center networking portfolio, and they deliver. That's them. Hey, Nokia, right on time.
Get your data center AI ready. Someday is here with Nokia.
Good evening. Welcome to Unveiled, where all conversations are safe, revealing, and uncuffed. Tonight's show is partnered with Chris's Dishes, Jenn Chavez Photography, and sponsored by WSBI LLC, your Resource for Success podcast. Here are your hosts, Carmine and Kimberly Pesce, and Chris and Jenn Chavez. What are we revealing tonight? Well, since this month, February, is the month of love, we are going to talk about the topic, finding love in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. Now all our hosts cover all of the above age groups. So with that, let's talk to our hosts.
Hey, that was really good, Carm. Oh my God, I thought he was going to break out in a sweat.
Exactly.
He's going to grab him a napkin and be like, whoo, it's all good. I swear, surgery went well.
Okay. Good one.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Yes, my husband did a fabulous job with this new introductory role.
Yes, he did.
Yes, like you said, we are all in that age bracket, the 50s right here.
Yep, ma'am. Same. And then we have the young
41.
We got the baby.
I'm on the high side of the 40, though. So.
He just made it.
Yeah.
Just made that
Mid-high side 40s. That's what it is.
Mid-high side.
Mid-high side.
Yeah, he just made it. Just made it in the group. Just made it.
Gotta keep him young.
Oh, gosh. And for you?
Yeah, which one do you cover?
Where do you fall in?
I'm just going to say 60s. I'm not going to say mid, high, or low. I'm just going to say 60s, and we're going to leave it at that. Okay, but I'm sure we'll cover all the nuances of those age groups and what we had in the past, what we found in the future.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
It is. I got to tell you, I am the first one to own my age. One, because there's so many people who don't make it. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's a blessing. And I tell people all the time, like, yeah, I'm 52. And it's just accepting it and growing older. And I know we've spoken about it before, but especially in our generation, for women, revealing your true age was shunned. Like, you shouldn't.
Right.
And I can remember when I was little, my mother was like, it doesn't matter how old I am. Now I'm like, I owe my shit. Like, I am 52. Every single one of these wrinkles, while I would love to Botox them away, they're not going anywhere. They're here for a reason. The laughter caused the laugh lines. Some sadness and life lessons learned caused the little crow's feet from crying. But you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. It's always been an issue of women revealing, their age and who they are. And even till this day, people are like, oh, you don't need to know my age. Why? Be thankful. And I tell people all the time, especially young folks, oh, you guys are old. You should hope that you get to this point in life.
Amen.
And
as well as we have, high five.
Exactly. And, I always get that, oh, you're how old? I'm like, yeah, I'm 58 and I'm proud and soon to be 59, in a couple months. And it's like, it's okay. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful that I made it this far, and I'm praying that I can continue to get past another year.
Yep.
And to be able to share some of the knowledge that I've gained and understanding and realizing that what we have gone through has helped us understand how to find love and realize what true love really is about at this age bracket. And what we thought we knew prior to our 40s and 30s and 20s is definitely not the same. And, our outlook is much, much more different.
100%.
Yeah. So,
I think there's less caring about trivial things.
Absolutely.
I think it's more so about, waking up and going to sleep next to the person that you love and care about. And then it doesn't matter, like, how much money you have or what you're doing, just as long as you're doing something fun together. I mean, like yesterday, she made a, what can I call it, a technical error on her part to spend time together, but now it's turned out into an error of determination. So
what are you talking about?
She came down.
What I do now?
She came downstairs and she's like, "You want to do a puzzle?"
Oh, this is the funniest story.
She has this bag. She goes, "You want to do a puzzle?" I was like, "Sure." Whatever. So she throws this puzzle.
There.
She throws this puzzle out on the table. I'm like, "So where's the picture at?" She goes, "I have no clue."
Mind you, we bought these puzzles. It was like a box of 10 puzzles, maybe 8 years ago. Because what a good idea! Keep your brain going,
Right.
Focus, attention to detail, awesome things that as you get older you really do need to focus on, guys. But we threw the box out when we were moving one of the 8,000 times, and I saw the puzzle sitting at the bottom of my yarn. I'm like, oh, let's go do this. How hard could it be?
3 hours into it last night, we finally had the border. We're like, "Oh, this is gonna take forever."
How many pieces was the puzzle?
1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Right, yeah.
so
And hold on, let me tell you, hey, Google AI, you can't help us. Because I tried to find the picture. That little take a picture of the thing and it'll identify it. Not happening. It's not Alice in Wonderland.
the person who developed the algorithm for the AI said nobody's ever going to want to see this.
Right.
I figured the way out how to break the internet real quick.
Way to go.
So yeah, it's about the fun things, but it's also about the things that you do to get under your significant other's skin. If those are fun things too. At least for me, sometimes I do things that get under her skin, but then it brings me joy because she's like, "Will you stop it?" It's those types of things, kind of like you two this morning.
Yes, just a perfect example.
Yes.
But we should start examining what we as individuals did when we were looking to find love, or just falling in love, or just accidentally tripping into love when we were younger, and what we were looking for then versus what we are doing today or found today. Personally, in my teens, you really didn't know anything other than everybody or somebody had a girlfriend and you wanted a girlfriend. And you wound up having relationships with people whose were all friends. So the gathering of boys and girls was your pick. It wasn't really, oh, I went to a club and I hooked up and now I'm married, right?
Or I scrolled left or right and now I'm going out with this person.
Totally different world today than it was yesterday.
But there were
it was your parents, your grandparents, your friends developing what your relationship should be with a person, and actually commenting on, oh, you should go out with so and so. You should go out, and it became like, but I don't want to go out with so and so.
I think that might be different for every person because in my family there was none of that.
Really?
There was none of that at all. It was very hands off. You make your own decisions. You can ask my father to this day. He will tell you that, the way he raised me and my brother is you be different people. I'm going to teach you the right and wrong and some life lessons on how to maintain, your person as a person on this planet. Don't do dumb shit. Don't get thrown in jail. That's it. Go forth. Your decisions are yours, and when you make the wrong decision, you're going to learn real quick.
So this is good to talk about because there's a 2-decade difference between your age and mine.
Well,
and I sit in between you two,
Right.
and I'll tell you, my relationship options were solely based on community and beliefs, constructs that my family had. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had family that were like, you can only date a Jewish kid because I was a Jewish woman, Jewish girl.
You are.
I am, yes. I mean, even then I was.
You were.
I am. I still am.
Have you denounced
Now it's starting to make sense.
But these were the things, there were different social norms and things that were in place that I could never. My father told me straight out, do not come home and tell me you're a lesbian. don't. But this was also going back into the 1980s where it wasn't as acceptable to have that situation as it is today. My father was a wonderful man. He was great. He just made it emphatically clear that who I could date and what I needed to look for was not what it is as accepting, I would say, as we grew older and what we looked for.
Well, I couldn't date, period. So I had no boyfriends.
You weren't allowed to date?
Absolutely not.
So you were how old?
Until I left home.
30.
30.
Serious?
Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, so never had the experience of dating in high school. Even when I couldn't even go out to certain like things like I didn't do. What do you do when you have at the end of the year in your senior
Prom.
high? I never did prom. I ended up doing debutante ball. I couldn't even choose the person I wanted to go out for the debutante ball. That was all chosen for me. So I had no experience whatsoever of dating.
Kim, you were a Deb?
Yes, I was a Deb.
You're so fancy.
And I mean, it was a great experience, but it was a horrible experience of not understanding what it meant to have a boyfriend, realize what dating was, because being young and coming into the military, and then so-called thinking I met my sweetheart at 20 years old. Next thing I know, I'm married at 20. Next thing I know, 21, I'm having my first kid. By the time I was 27, I was divorced.
Right.
So not understanding that role of life of dating men and then having a child, it's like your whole world is stepped in front of you, and then just trying to grow up and trying to raise a kid and trying to understand what it is to have a life with a man. I had no idea. So there's that balance of, I get it. You're trying to protect your one and only daughter per se, not only child. I mean, I definitely had a brother where my brother could go out and do all these things, but as a female, I could not do that. Right?
Definitely a standard between men and women at that time.
At that time, exactly. That was the accepted thing to do. So it's understanding that those were those lessons back then. So I knew crap at 20-something years old of trying to be that family person. I had to learn it along the way and learn some very, very hard lessons of trying to understand what it was about dating that I had no clue of.
Only what you saw on TV.
Well,
or even not even so much even in TV, but even within my family. I thought that, hey, this was the perfect life of having parents, having the perfect home and, having the two parents, the perfect house and the dogs and, all the things you think that's easy to do because I had that in my household. Right. But the reality, that just wasn't how it is because I didn't have the experiences that the average person, we could say back then, could have. Right?
Sure. And when I think about segueing from my teens into my 20s, right? So I lost my mom when I was 14. She died suddenly. And I lived with my sister for the rest of my high school. So for 3+ years I was in high school, moved from Jersey to New York, and watching their relationship, very different than my parents' relationship. I didn't know what I wanted. I'll be the first to tell you. You know what I wanted? I wanted an escape route. So who was I dating? I was dating the people I thought my family would let me date based on the construct of being a kid and what they said. And then it was, how am I going to get out of where I am? And when I went to college, it was pretty much the same thing, although you have no holds barred when you're really away from home. So it's like, oh, now I'm meeting all these different people, kind of like you and Chris had that experience in the military. You're meeting all these different people.
Right.
What experiences are they bringing to the table? And I will tell you, hindsight.
Hey, move those routers there. Oh, hey, it's me, your data center. And as you can hear, I'm making some big changes in here because AI is making some bigger ones everywhere. So I took a little trip to Nokia. Super fast routers, optical interconnect, fully automated, the whole data center networking portfolio, and they deliver. That's them. Hey, Nokia, right on time.
Get your data center AI ready. Someday is here with Nokia.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
30 years later, those relationships that I had during that time were meaningless. There was no substance to it. We didn't have cell phones, so we weren't engaged with each other all the time. There was no, what are you interested in? There was no investment. I think that's the best word. Like, I look across this table and I see my partner, my soulmate, my guy, and I am solely invested in him and making sure he is happy. In youth, all right, what do you want to do? Oh, we're gonna go to the movies. Cool.
There wasn't very much to choose from at those times.
That is
right?
true.
There wasn't
Right.
crossing state lines, other than going over a bridge and you're from New York, you're in New Jersey, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I understand what you're saying. But when you say meaningless relationships, meaningless in what respect? Because I learned a lot from all my relationships, however brief they were or minimal they were, because I didn't date like excessively. It was like it was socializing at the time, right? And then you find a person and you feel that's the one, and then you enter into a relationship. Because the only thing I brought from my parents is the things that I did not, or my parent, because my mom died at an early age, the things I didn't want when I went off on my own. Like, the first thing is, I'm not going to have a couch with plastic on it. Right? It's like things like that. It's like all the things like, I don't want to sit on plastic.
I hear that.
And I don't want...
I can qualify my statement. Because my mother died when I was 14, and because I was trying to find a way to get out from living with my sister and her family, because my sister had her own life. We're 10 and a half years apart. She was married. She had children. Children from her husband's first marriage that she had adopted as well. And I needed to find myself. I was fully, and this is very revealing because I don't share this with people. The first boy that I fell in love, air quote, with, I thought he and I were going to be together forever. Absolutely. Maintained a friendship with this person straight into my early 40s. Wow. And we would always joke that, if we ever never end up with anyone else, we'll end up together. But I truly thought that he and I would be together. He went off to Israel. I went to college. We stayed friends. Our significant others along the way became friends and built that community of who knows who. Our kids were best friends growing up. And so when I think back, it's like, yeah, any relationship that wasn't that relationship did not hold as much value. Mm. And yeah, it's the youth of then.
And that I could relate to that, right? I'm glad that you explained the meaningless relationships, because in what you explained, that was a meaningful relationship, right, even though it wasn't a matrimonial relationship or a long-term relationship. It was a friendship, and it helped develop you to where you are today, I feel.
Absolutely. How old were you when you started dating?
Well,
not when you were in 6th grade and held Susie's hand down to the water room.
No. Girls, I went to Catholic grammar school.
There was
right?
no holding hands.
So there was no holding hands, and everybody was the same. They were all the same color. They were all dressed the same.
So first date.
What was the question? My first date.
After you sealed,
how old was I?
After you sealed the ark.
I want to say I was probably what I would consider a meaningful relationship was probably around 15, 14.
What about you?
16.
So, your construct, your mom and dad did not put any thoughts or connotations into your brain who you could date, could not date,
Nope.
did not matter.
Nope.
No parameter.
Nope.
No belief.
Nope. I've had, everything from white, black, Asian type girlfriends to, good, bad relationships. And I know we talked about the good, bad relationships. Like, with me, honestly, looking back at it now, I should have never been in any type of relationship or marriages like prior to you. Because, and I'm not just saying that, people. Hold on. Okay. Let me caveat this.
You're looking for kudos.
Let me explain this.
Don't worry. You're going to get to sleep with her tonight. You don't have to say those things.
Is that between the age of from 22 until 35, I spent my time in and out of a combat zone or training up to go to a combat zone, so that was my focus. Everything else was put on the back burner, and I didn't really focus on any of my relationship or marriages back then or whatever. And looking back at it now, yeah, I was probably wrong of me, but that was who I am.
Right.
Or who I was.
Exactly.
It's like, because at age 6, and this goes back to like one topic we're going to have very soon is when I was 13 years old, my dad sat me down and we had an interesting conversation, and it was something a little like this. You have 5 years and you have to make choices in your life. And I was like, okay, I don't know where this is going. He goes, you can either pay your way for college. I will pay your way for college, but if I'm paying your way for college and you're living here, be in the house, is like you're going to pay rent, or you figure it out on your own, or you can join the military. And I was like, well, I've been digging trenches in your backyard since the age of like 2. I think I'm going to join the military. And that's what I did. And that's always what I wanted. I didn't want to focus on anything but that.
So were you able to have any successful relationships in the military?
No.
Were you?
Obviously not.
Okay, fair. Do you think the military impacted your view of relationships?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Because during the 7 years that we were married, we were only in the same household, maybe 3.
Oh, really?
Because we were both in 2 different ships. So we both were just, 2 different environments. And it was just not a good relationship, period. There was a lot of things going.
Yeah, but to say it's not with everybody. I mean, we know people that have been, day 1 lieutenant, day 1 E1 private, and now they're getting ready to retire after 30, 40 years, and they've been with their high school sweetheart. Like, hey, cool, great, you're wonderful. You've done that. But it's just some people.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, too, for me was because, like I said, I didn't have the experience.
Right.
So I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what I had. What wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't good for me. And the things that I learned going on throughout the relationship and towards the end of the relationship, I should have never been with them, period.
Yeah.
So I think you just hit on a really important topic, or subtopic, I should say, which is, you didn't know what you were looking for, what you had. I didn't even know who I was.
Right.
Yeah.
You asked me, who was I in my 20s? I was a hot mess. That's who I was. Mm-hmm. And then I'll tell you, what I was? I was very driven to be successful financially because that was very important to me. And I was tunnel visioned on my career. And yes, I got married at 23, had Amanda when I was 26, but I worked. And I was able to make sure that I was always the breadwinner. Her father. Sorry.
The biological.
I did learn a lesson from that one.
The biological donor.
The donor.
Yes, the donor. Yes, the donor.
He was not working for a considerable period of time, but not even the point. I learned from that, to your point, Carmine, definitely what I did not want in a marriage.
Right.
Definitely who I was not.
Absolutely.
And I was not going to be the wife to take care of somebody who I did not have a respect for based on how this individual was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I didn't know that about myself. I was just going through emotions, right?
Right.
And fast forward when, I met Chris and how he and I met, which separate time for that conversation, I fully respected him like that. Because here is this man who dedicated himself to his country, to fighting for something that he truly believed in. And I drew from that my own, well, what do I believe in? What do I believe in? What are not beliefs that were bestowed upon me by, my parents or my friends or the community? What are my beliefs? Like, what do I want in myself, in a person? And it really took me to a whole new level of self-awareness.
Right.
That until you know who you are, how do you know what you need from somebody else or want from somebody else?
Exactly. Yeah, I think
great
that
point.
in my first experience of that first marriage, it truly taught me a lot about myself, and then about having a partner. I always knew I wanted a partner, but I also wanted to have my own successes, because after what I had went through and before the end of that marriage, and he stole everything I had, every dime that I had. At that point, I said I would never depend on another individual to take care of myself and my child, right?
Sure.
So it was so many valuable lessons learned about the character of the individual, and then realizing that you have to grow up. That's when I grew up.
Right.
I literally grew up overnight, understanding, okay, this is not what just marriage is about, or having a relationship. It's about, okay, you have to stand up on your own 2 feet, as well as be that partner with the individual, but you have to know who you are. And I started to grow who I was. Obviously never thinking, was worried about getting married again. Thought took the step again, ended up being with another jerk down the road. The biggest problem I had with men during my time of relationships was that it was always the cheating. I was always told, "Oh, you're the good person. You're so good," and it's like, I can't believe I did this to you. Excuse me. Like, I don't want to be your fucking friend. Excuse my language, right? I'm your wife, right? It's beyond just being your friend, and that's this type of stuff that I would always run into. So then, I got to the point where I never thought I would ever go down the path. I've been through horrifying relationships to the point where I just never wanted to do this again. And then, of course, almost 20 years down the road, I built my success. I've done the things I wanted to do. I have the one thing I could say that I did right out of that first relationship was having a beautiful child.
Amen. Yeah.
My son, I could not thank God. Oh my God, I thank God so much for that child. The best thing I had ever done was have this beautiful child out of all the chaos that I've been through. And then fast forward umpteen years later, here after 20 years of sitting on my own, never thought I would go down this path again. I have this wonderful man sitting in front of me that I never thought I would ever step foot in the word marriage. I was like, what?
The M word.
The M word, right? It's like, it was nothing. It was not in front of me. I finally had given it up. I was like, you know what? I've set my path. I'm preparing myself for retirement. I've literally had lay of the land. Everything I had done and prepared myself. I was like, okay, I'm getting ready. I'm going to retire at 62. I'm almost there. counting it down, right? So not ever thinking about at this point in my life that, here we're coming up on almost a year of being married, even considering it. But it's having that right person. And the weird part about it was thinking everything that he is and who he is and how we came together, it was just so easy. Because I thought if I had ever met anybody, it would be a struggle for me. Because when you've been by yourself almost 20 years, it's a long time.
That is.
To have to sit back and think about sharing things again and trusting again. And that was the huge part for me. Trusting was like, oof, it's like...
like nails on a chalkboard.
Yes, always on the chalkboard. But I didn't feel that way with him. Never had to think twice about anything. Which was almost weird. I can't even describe it. And I never literally had to think... From the time that we even talked about it, closely talked, never had to think twice about it on anything.
It's like, this was a conversation you had to have with yourself? What are you talking about?
But no, seriously.
No, not you. The way he's looking at it, he's like, I don't know how to take this right now.
no, I know.
Something to process.
He understands what I'm talking about.
I understand exactly
Yeah.
what she's saying.
Yeah.
It's something you really have to experience to actually. It's hard to explain in words, right? So people say you know it when you know it, right?
Yep.
And it happened that quickly and happened that fast, right? Because working side by side in the same office, it was never that our relationship didn't blossom in there.
Nope.
It was outside and saying, hey, this is the person I want to be with, right?
Yep.
And then it blossomed into what it did real quickly.
That's funny that you say that, because like Jen and I, we've worked together in the same office, and we can't stand it.
The office? Or?
No, we can't stand working.
We can't work together.
We can't work together. But we say that. But in doing our businesses, that's something completely different. Like it's just being in the environment.
But that's a different partnership.
No, I got that.
Work is.
It's work.
It's work.
It's a contest. It's a contest,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's the reason why. Because I anybody knows me, I'm not very competitive. I could care less. It's like
Me neither.
I am who I am.
Right.
That's all it is. So, getting back to the trust thing and everything like that. Like with me, I think my way of knowing that I absolutely trusted her was like she actually saved my life. On the day I met her, she actually saved my life. And that's not being like, I don't even know what the word is. Dramatic.
Right,
It's like,
right.
it's a true statement. Like, if anybody wants to have a conversation about what it was about, I will tell you. But that day that I met her.
Hey, move those routers there. Oh, hey, it's me, your data center. And as you can hear, I'm making some big changes in here because AI is making some bigger ones everywhere. So I took a little trip to Nokia. Super fast routers, optical interconnect, fully automated, the whole data center networking portfolio, and they deliver. That's them. Hey, Nokia, right on time.
Get your data center AI ready. Someday is here with Nokia.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
She saved my life. And that never looked back.
Yeah,
So-
and I understand that feeling.
Sometimes I want to push her off a bridge, but was that loud?
But, I understand exactly your feeling because, and my story is no secret. My story's out there. I've written a book about it. Being abused and having a man who wanted to kill me, who literally every day for several months literally tried to kill me. My story is there. It's valid. It's out there. You can even find the police reports. All of it's out there. So having to rebuild that trust and understanding of having somebody in your life, that's huge for me. It took me years to rebuild myself and that confidence in even wanting to look at another person or date or have the conversation or just any of that, right? So I understand that feeling of when you feel like you're being saved, right? Or you feel like you can trust to know that you can sit down and have a conversation without feeling like somebody is crucifying you at the same time or looking at you in a way that you can look at them and know that they are saying the right things or they're trustworthy, they're not BSing you. Because I can see a BSer all the way across the room, literally. I know that feeling. It's like I can instantly feel it inside of me when somebody is not right. So to have the partner that I have now and know that I can put my guard down and tell you a quick story. When we first got together and we moved into the house, and I had to explain to him how I couldn't even, till this day, can't keep my door into the bedroom open. I had to close it. Because for many years, I literally felt like I'm living in jail. I would put a chair up to the door, even with my security on it, because I had to live like that for many years of worrying about this person coming after me to kill me. And I'd explain to him, I can't feel safe unless you're here. That door has to be closed.
I get that.
So
go ahead.
That's to me, that's like if you're not giving that up, because, and this goes into a whole different thing, but you're not giving up your sense of like fight or flight, but your fight or flight now, there's a barrier there. So it's like, what side of the bed do you sleep on? Do you sleep on door side or not door side?
Me?
Yeah.
Door side.
Door side.
See,
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's your chair. I sleep on door side. Even if we're in a hotel room, door side. I got to do it. That's the chair.
It's the love I have. The love I know he has for me. The safetyness. It's my safety net, right? I understand. I don't have to fear that anymore. Where before, that was the fear that I kept carried for years. I'm talking years. This is that all that abuse and everything I went through, that happened way back. It's been now probably 10, 15 years ago. But you never, when you've gone through what I actually went through, you're never going to forget it. You can continue to move on and live, but there's the certain triggers, there's certain things that, and you understand exactly what you understand it. So it's to know that you can have somebody who can truly love you for everything that you've gone through in life. And he knows my crazy. He's seen it. He understands it. And to explain it and know that, hey, there's just certain things I can't deal with. And it's okay.
Exactly.
I will say, like, past relationship, there's only been one that, we've kind of fallen off, but we were really good friends. Like, and we should never have gotten married when we were younger. That was the stupidest thing both of us could have done. But the other relationships that I had between her, I will tell you that none of those women were as strong as her, because they would have never been able to put up with the shit she has seen me try to do to myself. Even now, it's been 2012 was the last time I deployed, but it still carries over. And to know that she's not going anywhere because of like, oh, you're doing something, want to do something too stupid to yourself. But to me, that's like, the love part. She does, and Blaine, she does the, the cutesy little things that she does every day. Does the coffee because she feels like can't do it. We've had that conversation. The laundry, we've had that conversation. Things like that. Right. But it's about those stupid little things like, hey, are you okay? Are you alive? Do you need anything? Those are the love things. Not like I don't know. I don't buy expensive jewelry. I don't buy flowers every week. I do it randomly on occasion, things like that, or I'll go pick sunflowers from our garden and bring them to her, just because those are the types of way, like, for me, that's how I show my love to her. Not like, hey, here's a new car.
Don't lie, you cook for me. That's a lot of love.
Well, that is a lot of love. Shrimp and grits tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. Carmine, you said before about...
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now And support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Your community. How many kids were you exposed to?
Let's see.
Would you say a dozen?
At the most, a dozen.
Okay.
Right?
And that was in your...
Because in my community, you know, at a certain age, you couldn't leave the block.
Right.
And it was very many years before you could even cross the street or go around the block.
Go around
right?
the block, yeah.
So it was a different thing. So everybody that was there was, you know, either kids that we went to school with, a new kid that moves into the neighborhood, but they were all
the same kids.
The same kids, right?
But then you hit your 20s.
So, in the teen years, like, you know, going into high school, that whole community changed. Yeah, we were living next to each other, but we weren't hanging out. Right. It was, we were hanging out with the kids from school, right? And then going to clubs. We all grew different paths, right? So my best friend at the time, we weren't best friends anymore because my best friends were the kids I was hanging out in high school with and got in trouble with, right? So it was different. But yeah, less than a dozen at the most.
So I always find this interesting when you look at your path.
Mm-hmm.
I was married my first time in my 20s, second time in my 30s, third time in my 40s. Okay, so I averaged one a decade, I guess.
My time's almost up.
That's it.
Where's Troy?
I guess I gotta dust off the old playbook.
Marriage relationship?
7 years.
7 years. So it's the 7-year
same
itch,
here.
right?
Same here.
Same
here. Yeah.
I'll give you my perspective on the 7-year itch in a second.
So the reason I bring this up is like, so, and it goes back to who are you exposed to and what are you interested in? And to your point, you know, you're going to the clubs, different decade, different time era, different people around you. The relationships that you formed during that time frame, what did you gain lesson learned wise?
I learned this. You really don't know who you are in the early years. You never know who you are. You know who you want to be or you profess to be. It's like, oh, I want to be a mailman. I don't want to be a fireman. Right? You never get to that because you're always evolving. You're always changing. So I think that's why we're in today's society that there's the younger, what I'll call the younger generation, is waiting longer to get married, longer to enter into a marriage. They're either living together, having children out of wedlock, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a good thing because they know more what life brings them. The path that I had, I won't speak to everybody else here, is that you date, you get married, you have a kid, you buy a house, right?
You're absolutely right.
And that's not necessarily the right thing, but that's what we grew up as. So clearly our idea of what that was is convoluted today. It's you could live together, have an apartment together, buy a house together, have a kid, and not be married, right? These are all things that you learn over the ages that we didn't have the opportunity to learn, right? We entered into a relationship. We knew the next step was, we've been going out a year, 2 years. It's time to get married. No, the time to get married is when it's right.
Exactly.
But we didn't know what was right. It was what we grew up in.
Absolutely.
But I think, and yes, I'm the youngest one at the table, but still, going back towards our decades, that was a standard.
Yes,
that was a standard. Like, if you didn't have that done by 25, you were done for. If
Something's wrong with you.
Yeah,
Why?
Exactly.
If you were 30 and that was going down, it's like, oh, God, and just finally, they've been blessed with something. But nowadays, it's like, hey, you're, like you said, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, finally figuring out, getting going, and it's like, hey, now you're going to be a 45-year-old with a brand new baby. First of all, no. But good luck to you all out there. So, not me. Couldn't do that.
We already had that conversation because we had a scare actually early in our relationship, and I was like, could you imagine if we had a baby right now?
Right.
I was like, no.
We're not adult enough. No, I'm joking.
No. I commend people who can start over in their 40s.
Right.
I do. I think if that's for you, God bless you, but you know what?
Well, hold on. Wait. We all started over. I'm
saying having a little one.
Well, okay, yeah, no, a little one. But even still, like, if with some people, like, there has been conversations at this table about two people when someone retires getting a dog. It's like, let me tell you, it's a big thing. It's like having a brand new child. And you're like, hey, this little thing, I have a chihuahua you can borrow.
No, thank you.
Good luck with
Can you
that.
barbecue that chihuahua?
Shut up! He's so sweet.
That's your baby,
So
not
sweet.
ours. Okay.
Not as sweet as a football bat. But I mean, we all started over trying to. Well, I don't even know if we were starting over looking for it. I think for everybody at this table, it was just like,
It happened.
yeah, it just showed up.
Right. But I think a part of it too is that when you're not looking for it and you just allow yourself to live in your peace, and I can just say for me that God showed me and promised me that He will bring the person when His timing is right. And I also believe that if you have to get yourself together before you can take care of anybody else. And that was essential for me.
You know what? That's funny you say that, because like as we're sitting here and I almost kind of like knew where you were going with that statement. Mm-hmm. We have I have a buddy. We have somebody that we know also. Like they both have little ones under the age of 7. Both of them, one's over 40 and the other one's 30s or older 30s, right? And they're just starting over. But now it's kind of like every time you talk to them, it's like swipe left, swipe right, swipe left, swipe right. It's like, dude, I tell my buddy all the time, don't worry about that shit, man. Let it happen. Just focus on your kid. Yep. Well, kids now, that's a completely different story.
I mean, I love the spiritual aspect to it. And, it's provided when it's provided. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We were not looking to meet each other. I had no idea who a Christopher Chavez was walking this planet. And the funny part about it is the day we met was not anywhere near where I lived. We had no business running into each other that day. And yet we did.
And she wouldn't stop talking to me.
And I was annoying him. And I don't know if it was on purpose. Mm-hmm. Or if it was just, I didn't care.
Nervous. Maybe you were nervous.
No, you know what's so funny? So, all right, so here is the story. So, it's such a funny story in hindsight. So, my girlfriend at the time, she and I were doing Spartan races. And she's like, come on, let's go to Virginia. I'm dating this guy, because this is what she did. And we're going to go to Virginia. I'm like, what the hell is in Virginia? My quintessential New York self was like, I'm not going to hang out in Virginia. Well, no, it'll be great. So we did. We drove from New York to Virginia, and we are out in
Wintergreen.
Thank you, Wintergreen by the resort. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful resort. I mean, it's so lovely. And we get there, and she beats feet. She goes off with some guy, and I'm sitting in the hotel room that night by myself. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm watching TV, prepping, making sure I got everything ready for my race in the morning because, cool. That morning, we get out there. I got out there. She finally shows up. They're hungover.
Which we come to find out that was like a norm.
Yeah. So
we just weren't
like one of the cool kids. So anyway, so we get out there and all of a sudden the host, the MC, and it's so funny because again, about who are you? Mm-hmm. I was personally going through stuff. I had lost my father the year before. Mm. This was the day after the first year of his passing and his birthday. So my father was born on so we're out there and all of a sudden the MC is like, can the soldier please come up, the gentleman with the colors. And I'm looking around, I'm stretching, I'm doing my yeah, let's do this. And you're not talking about like 20 or 40 people. There are hundreds of people at these events.
Thousands.
And the seas parted. You thought Moses was coming through. All of a sudden, this guy in full kit, helmet, flag, his army uniform, his boots, comes hoofing down, his vest. I was like, all right, cool. Everyone starts singing, national anthem, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they shoot off the gun, and here we go. Well, I'm going to tell the part of the story without, making it sound horrible. So my friend needed some assistance, and I was not big enough to assist her with some of these obstacles. And he comes along, and I'm like, hi, can you help us? My friend just needs some help, and he's like, yeah, here. And he hands me his flag, and all right, cool. And he helps her over this thing. Thanks, appreciate you. We're out. About a mile down the track, same situation. I'm like, sorry to bother you again. Hey, could you help us? I can't lift her up. And it was and he made this face. And I promise you, to today, if I could ever get him to repeat this face, I would love for him to. It was what the hell do you want from my life, lady? He's like, yeah. And he has it. I'm like, thank you, I appreciate it. And he just looks at me, and he like snarled or something, like an ogre. I was like, all right.
Whoa, I never heard this story before.
You've never heard that? This is great.
Chris
It gets better.
Chavez.
It gets so much better. So
It's all right. This past week, I've been called an ogre and a hairy beast. All inside of 24 hours by 2 different women. I was like, all right.
So anyway, so he helps her over, and then we're trotting on. I'm like, here, I'll hold your stuff so you can get over. He's like, I got it. I'm like, just go. He does his thing, and we're trotting along, and I'm talking to him, and he's got will you just leave me alone face. And I was like, oh, so...
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
What branch of the military are you in? Because what the hell did I know? He's like, Army. Like,
I did everything to get her away from me.
I was like, and what party? I said, oh, my cousin's in the Army. Where in the Army do you work? He's like, part of 82nd Airborne. He's like, he goes, I was part of this 82nd Airborne. I'm like, my cousin was in the 82nd Airborne.
Hold on,
and
it gets better.
Totally that chick who is like, he's no way in hell gonna know who my cousin is, but I'm trying to be nice, have conversation. The woman I was racing with went trotting off with the guy she was drunk with. And he goes, what's your cousin's name? And I tell him, and he went white.
He was my senior raider.
Oh my gosh.
So now you changed your attitude. Now you got,
No, I didn't.
So I look at him, and we're having this conversation. I'm like, so what the fuck is your story?
Right.
Like, why are you dressed like this? Why are you out here? And
so the story behind it is that a buddy of mine, he started doing races where we were commemorating our fallen comrades.
Okay.
So we would wear full battle rattle and then add extra weight to that, and then do these, obstacle course races, like dumbasses up and down these big ass hills through the desert, and stuff like that. We're like, this was a good idea when we thought about it. So,
Right.
So
but
that's
it's
where
pretty
it was.
tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
so why do I share this story? Yes, that was the first day we met. Were we looking to even meet each other? No, as he said 6 times. Not wanting to have anything to do with us. And, at the end of the race, we all went out for dinner, a bunch of us. And I never thought I'd see him again. I'm like, yeah, here's my number. If you ever want to go to another race, we'll chat, we'll whatever it is. And what I found so interesting is that with everything I was going through at that point in my life, because I was also processing a childhood trauma that I had...
Came to the surface.
I'm sorry?
It came to the surface.
It did. And I hadn't remembered it my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the things that I was going through brought me to that point, brought me to the realization that how I had been living, the men or the relationships I've had weren't fulfilling me because I didn't know me. And then one day I was like, this person means something. And God put him in my path that day for a reason, whether it was because I saved him, and I've told him, he saved me too.
Yep.
He saved me from my own self-destruction because decisions I was making at the time were not healthy. They were not good for my daughter. They were not good for me. So looking at life in my 40s and that relationship, I saw what right looked like.
Yeah.
And I believe to you, again, and I stress this, Kim, to your point, God puts that person in your path for a reason.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
You,
Me.
Mr. Carmine. Let's talk a little bit more about your story, because you've gone through some things, and share a little bit more about how you got to the point where you decided that you really wanted to live a little more, understand who you were, get out of that norm of work was your life.
Well,
God, I so can relate to this.
Look, work became part of my life from early on. When I got into telecommunications, it became the ungodly hours you spend, the people you hang out with, and all that. It was a difficult. I got in early, so it's like I wasn't an adult at the time. I was, I want to say 19. And did that for very many years, right? So the career became a path that I had to juggle marriage and those responsibilities with the career, and that I don't want to say that was one of the things that contributed to my first marriage failing, but it was part of it. I didn't know how to be a partner, I was struggling with that. Let's put it that way, without going into too much detail. And then work, then Virginia came, Velvar, and it was more the same, because now it was I wasn't in a marriage. I didn't have a relationship, although I thought I was looking for something. I made work my career, and
That was your marriage.
that was my marriage, right? And it wasn't until I realized what was important in life as I was getting older to change that paradigm, but didn't know how. So some of that had to do with the therapy sessions. Some of it had to do with just people I was engaging with, and learning it's not as important. Although it's a very difficult thing to throw away after 30 some odd years of doing something that you're always the one to affect a change and make things better. That it's okay to be a failure sometimes, because you learn from that. And unfortunately, that cost me a lot of years with people, and that just changed in an instance when we met, because then I realized I was at that point where I realized this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, because I was convinced that, hey, I'm just going to work until I die, right? Mm-hmm. And that is my marriage, right? And then I realized that then that's not what I really want in life. It was like an epiphany that happened. It was there, but I needed a smack in the face for it to tell me, no, this is not what's important in life.
How's your hand feel, Kimberly?
So
It's bleeding.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's what we at the time what we considered, and I think my early years, it was work hard, be a professional, always do the right thing, and it's. If I had to do it over again, I would have been more silly. I would have been more reckless. I would have been more a kid, and learned from those mistakes. When mistakes happened, like in my very first relationship, when a mistake happened there, it was.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Flight. It wasn't addressing
The issue. Right?
the issue, right? And I always think back about that. It says, my life would have been much different if I listened more, and I was more compassionate to things that happened instead of hey, you're wronged, get rid of it, right? Find out why it went.
But and I don't mean to cut you off because I'll forget it. We have this kind of conversation all the time, her and I, is that no matter what, everything that you just said is led up to what you have now. Because now when you can address those things like having compassion, empathy, so on and so forth, because sometimes it was very hard. Like when her and I first started, I was still like, shut off. Like, no, done. Now it's kind of like, okay, I got you, babe. Like you tweaked your neck, you broke your foot, whatever. I'm going to take care of you. And sometimes it's, that's the love part. 15 years ago, I'd been like, you better figure it out, Jack.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's so much that you didn't have compassion even then. The problem is your compassion was in everybody else, but not into yourself.
Yes,
right.
And even to this day, I have to reel you in sometimes and be like, look, quit worrying about everybody else and take care of you first, because it's so easy to always worry about how everybody else feels and put them on in the front pattern, and then you just sit back there and wait that eventually I'll get my turn, right?
But he is that quintessential stereotypical archetype of the caregiver,
right? And that's the difference. But like I told him, I said, you are the priority in life, because if you don't become that priority in life, you miss out. And for 30 some years, you've missed out. And like you said, if I wanted to, I've missed that being that silliness, having some of that recklessness in my life, all those little things that we think that were not useful. Look at how useful they are now, where we just sit around and we laugh and we do silly things. Just
you want to do a puzzle
around the
without a
house,
box because I'll drop one off at the front door.
Right, exactly.
Good
So
luck.
it's just having that opportunity to have compassion for yourself.
I think it's beautiful.
It's or love for yourself. It's a priority, because it's okay to make yourself the priority without having to say, I'm sorry that I'm putting myself first. You've done that for years, and we all have done that. Sitting at this table, we have always put other people first. And then when you start to open your mindset up and realize that, oh my gosh, it feels good to finally say, it's okay to be number one and take a break, or I want to go and do this, or I want to spend time with my spouse without people freaking out. Oh, you don't want to spend time with me anymore? Since you've been married? Excuse me? I've had 20 years of time to spend with you by myself. Now it's time for me to enjoy the person that I'm married to and that I love and I want to engage my time with, and I want to go do stupid things with. If I want to go hang out in the air in a hot balloon and I'm not hanging down here on the ground with you,
She
it's
meant
okay.
hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon, yes. Thank you. But I'm just saying, it's one of those things that
her hot balloon.
yes, it is.
Oh boy, reeling it in.
Really. But it's just saying that it's we sometimes we beat ourselves up so much about what we didn't do right. But like you just said, Chris, that it's the lessons, it's the things that we had to learn in order to get to this point, right?
So let me ask everyone this,
and then we're gonna wind it down.
and this is probably going to get deep.
Ooh.
Okay.
Is this going to be a follow-on meeting?
No. Really, what it has to do with what this last segment of what we've been talking about. Can you honestly say, and this is a two-part question, prior to the person you're currently with, okay, not just yourself, were you happy and loved yourself? And are you happy and love yourself now with that person?
That's a great question. Mm-hmm. So,
sometimes I don't say much, but when I do, there it is.
It's without going into a whole soliloquy about it. The answer is, I guess I love myself more today of who I am versus who I was, because I look back and there were failures on my part that I recognize today that were I couldn't recognize at the time, and I'm a better person today than I was to myself and to others than I was back then.
And I absolutely love myself better today than I was back then. Like I said, the things that I have gone through, first of all, never thought of myself as being what everybody thought I was, beyond the looks. And then you think about the pieces of wanting to be successful, wanting to be the perfect, wife, or wanting to be the perfect mother. And then, like I was saying earlier, just about putting everybody else first. There's just so many little things that you just start to realize that when you look in the mirror and you realize that you think you're as strong as you really are, and you aren't. And you start to put all these little labels on yourself that you don't need to put those labels on. And I think that's where I've learned, and what I've done is shed the labels that I don't need in order to be the woman that I am, and finally realized and found that there is someone who can accept me for every little thing that I am without those labels, right? We've talked about on previous podcasts that we've done where, you don't have to have the perfect body. That's a label. We've always been told you got to have the perfect body. And being a woman and being a black woman, it's always been, well, you got to look this certain way. Your hair has to be a certain way. You can't have this, or you can't have. So there's all those little things that, I feel better about who I am today because I haven't had to shed or change who I am in order to be with the man that I am with today. Where before I had to change every little thing in order to be accepted with the man that I was with. I had to have those labels that's either society has given you or how we were raised, because that's what we were told. Those labels have dropped throughout the years, so absolutely believe I'm in love more with myself today. And then there's still always those little struggles, but definitely a much more happier person than who I was before.
That was awesome. This is actually a really hard question for me.
Wow.
This really is. Because I don't think I ever loved myself in my former existence. I loved what I was doing. I loved taking care of people. I subscribed to the labels. I met the need. Like, it was that overachieving thing, that competitive thing. I had to be a size 0. I had to have my hair done, the nails, the this, the that. And I thought that's what I needed to be loved. So did I love myself? No. I existed. And I existed in those relationships. However, now I can say, since us being together, have absolutely found love within myself. And I found that by being able to be myself, not be the labels.
Dang it. Excellent. I was actually going to say the exact same thing. Yes, I really did not. I didn't love myself. I didn't care about myself. I cared about one thing and one thing only, and that was being married in a relationship with my career and fulfilling something I set out to do since I was probably the age of 3. But now, I went and left one job with a label, created a business with a label, and now I'm just Chris with Jen. And yeah, I think I'm more in love with myself now than I've ever been in my life. Excellent
question. Yeah, it's a good segue.
I know. Profound.
I took it deep.
It's a good segue into us closing out the show. So, one of the things I do want to say for all those listeners who are at the point in their lives where they're looking for love, and they're within this age group or not in this age group, right? Whatever age you are today, don't be afraid to go back to the days when you were your teen. What you're looking for in love in the early years versus what you're looking for today may be different. They may be the same, but you'll find from this group anyway that they were different. And I would venture to say that you're in the same predicament. So learn from what you experienced, the good and the bad in the early years, but discover yourself for what you love, and that should be the first and foremost in finding that true love or that relationship that will take you into the later years of your life. So
That was beautiful.
thank you.
The words of wisdom by Father
That's
Pesce.
right, by Father Pesce.
So with that said, thank you all for coming tonight. To my hosts and guests, thank you very much.
Always.
To be a guest on the show, contact the email on the show notes. Want more of Unveiled podcast shows? Monetary donations to support the podcast are now accepted on Cash Apps, PayPal, Good Pods, Tip Jar, or go to the website at www.wsbillc.com. Again, we'd like to thank you for listening to us tonight. We will be back next month on a Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.